Hey there, goblins. Welcome to Goblin Salvage Rights. My name's Robert.
I guess I'm Erik.
And today we're talking about this book here.
The one I bought. I did. I paid money for it.
The Tian-Xia Character Guide.
Character guide, your characters,
It's
my
got
characters.
ancestries. It's got archetypes. It's got
This is a book full of character.
backgrounds. It's got items.
And it's got some of the best art I've seen so far.
It's got wild art, dude.
Yeah, it's even got
some of this art has got me thinking.
It's even got Guardians of the Galaxy in it. This book's got everything.
It really. You're talking about the unique. Yeah, that's funny. So yeah, we're gonna be talking about Tian-Xia Character Guide. Our top fives, our Goblin 10.
Yep.
This one was...
We counted right this time.
Honestly, it kind of came out of nowhere for us. We're on the back pedal. We're on the back foot. This is coming out like 2 or 3 weeks after it came out.
Yep.
It just kind of came out of nowhere. I feel like there wasn't a lot of...
It did. None of the local stores around here actually got it. All they got... There was a weird kerfuffle where the distributors here in the Portland area, somebody messed up and the local stores only got the good one.
The fancy one?
Yeah, the fancy edition. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I want my art.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend an extra $20.
The red one?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's blue, I think. It's blue in this one.
I thought they were like not doing those anymore. What happened to the sketchbook?
I don't think they do that for the the Lost Omens line. They only do that for the actual rule books.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
But yeah, I just didn't want to shell all the extra money for the special edition because I don't like them.
Yeah, it's true.
And I ended up having to go elsewhere for it. So
yeah, I'm not a big fan of the special edition covers either. I wish they had art on them. Like, you know,
they're getting better now. With the recent books they've come out with for the fucking Postmaster, the remaster. Yeah. Anyhow, none of that is what Tian-Xia Character Guide is
Absolutely
about.
Not. Yeah, so before we jump into the topic, I want to shout out, we're going to be at our first convention.
Yep.
October 5th and 6th.
In the wild meat space.
It's called...
We're bringing all of our meat to that space.
Jeez, somebody put it like that. No one's going to show up.
How can you say no?
It's called CritCon. It's a convention originally with the idea of like, it's for like Warhammer people. It's for like, you know, like war gamers.
Yeah.
It's actually being thrown by a bunch of folks who do the Kill Team scene, Kill Team Cascadia here in the Portland metro area. They've gotten really popular and they're doing their own convention. I saw it on one of my Discords. I reached out to him. I'm like, hey, I see that you're doing like Inquisitor, which is like a TTRPG for Warhammer where you play like an Inquisitor, I guess.
Fooled you. This episode's all about Warhammer.
Yeah. So I reached out to him. I was like, hey, can we just like do a table of Pathfinder? I'm like a local guy, you know what I mean? Hang out. And he's like, that would be amazing. What do you need? And I'm like, oh, awesome. Yeah, sweet. So it's just like a bunch of like local indie gamers. And like, it's all about kind of like craft gaming, if you will.
I feel like that was a missed opportunity. What do you need should have been, offered with like foot rubs and dice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just
I'd mainly just dice. I'll just take your dice.
I'll take the foot rubs. You can have the dice. I've got too many dice.
So yeah, we're gonna be at CritCon October 5th and 6th. I posted a thing about it in our Discord. You can go to our Discord. It's linked in the doobly-doo down below.
Yep.
I'll post a link to the event as well. It's at the Lloyd Center in Portland.
East Portland.
Erik's gonna be running Weeby Goblins.
Weeby Goblins.
2 tables of Weeby Goblins.
I be running.
I'm going to be painting the models for it, so the players can actually play with like 3D printed models. And I'm going to be like hanging out, filling in player seats if we need it, or just vibing.
We should give these away for like MVPs of certain sessions, like prizes, unless you want to paint them and like bring them back home again.
Yeah, I didn't want to...
You greedy goblin.
I didn't want to say no, but like I'm going to put a lot of time in it. We'll see. If someone impresses... If one of you goblins impress me at the table, maybe
Impress them with your meat. Bring it to the space.
Oh my God. So October 5th, it's a Saturday. We're going to be there doing 2 game sessions. And then Sunday, we're going to do 1 game session. I'm going to be running a half marathon. My coach decided to...
You thought he was going to say game, didn't you?
Yeah, I was going to do a full marathon, but my coach and I talked, and I'm going down to a half because I don't think the probability of me getting hurt at a full right now at my current speed and my current training, because I've only been running ever since my injury for like 3 or 4 months, and post injury, that's really not enough time. Yeah. So I'm cooking down to a half marathon just to play it safe. So after that, I'm going to recuperate a little bit, and then I'm probably going to head to the convention for the afternoon. So, yeah, we're going to be running 3 games of Weeby Goblins. We would love to see you goblins out in the wild at
all
CritCon.
of you. Every single one of you. Come to Portland.
That'd be rad.
Descend on Lloyd Center.
Yeah. They even
Bring
have
your meat.
to the space. Bring your meat to the space. I swear to God, if you all show up with like meat sticks, I'm going to fall in love with this community.
Snap into a gob gym.
Snap into a gob gym. So, yeah, that's CritCon. Do you want to talk about what we played?
Sure. Yeah, this is a little... It's got me in the feels here because we've reached a sort of a milestone in both of our games.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
In Edgewatch, I'm continuing with the whole Ocean's 11, breaking into a casino and trying to get out without being, discovered and all that. And it turned out this was Robert's last session in Edgewatch for a good long while because he's a responsible individual and has to pay bills with an actual job.
Yeah.
So we will miss you and Tenebris, your halfling psychic, and all of those little dream scenes that I've been cooking up.
Oh,
I got to figure out what the fuck I'm going to do with them now because your character's not there to reap the benefits.
Problem with the alcohol business is everything happens on a Saturday.
It's funny how that works.
And unfortunately, our game is on Saturdays. If it was on any other day, I could probably make it work. But it just finally came down to it just basically came down to like, my two of my coworkers are like, Robert, I need you to fucking do your job on Saturdays. I'm like, damn it. I
don't want to do my job on Saturdays or any day. Yeah. So what did we do in Edgewatch? We're down in the vault, the bank vault, the thing we've been trying to break into because this is Ocean's 11. Yeah. And we got down there and there's an umbral dragon who's running security, right? And the idea is the umbral dragon's subordinate, who is this kind of drow-looking otherworldly creature with a crazy-looking spider frame, almost like a drider, only all the spider parts are mechanized. And so all that person fucked up their job, and big boss man, Umbral Dragon, is quite upset about it. Mm-hmm. So that resulted in a combat between the player characters and with the Umbral Dragon on their side against the guy who fucked up. Mm-hmm. And I feel like there was a couple of missed opportunities there. I kind of wanted the Umbral Dragon to just sort of like be ambiance in the room and flavorful, not like punching and hitting and swinging and doing magic things that Umbral Dragons do, but not ticking down the hit points on the bad guy. Anything that numerically reduced the bad guy, because balanced combats, right? Had to come from the player characters. So I had to find a way to make that Umbral Dragon sort of be fun and interactive and do more than just be a body in the room for everybody to go, why isn't this fucking guy just taking this whole combat? Why do we need to be here if the Umbral Dragon is doing all the damage, right?
Totally, yeah.
So that was a fun little GM exercise I had to do. What I ended up doing was having the Umbral Dragon kind of like move around and offer flanking for people because you weren't there to offer your +2, +3, +4s. Mm-hmm, so I tried to get a regular +2 thing going on with the flanking. So that was the one numeric thing advantage to having the Umbral Dragon around. Okay. And the Umbral Dragon was just kind of like moving around and trying to just offer flanking to as many players as possible. And what ended up happening halfway through the combat was Ajax, Ben's character, was on one side of the bad guy doing the sticky stick thing and trying to, because this is his book, right? I'm trying to make everything fun for him. And I had the Umbral Dragon kind of swoop up behind him and loom over him and start attacking over him, the bad guy. And Ben looked me in the eye and said something like, okay, I'm going to try and use this feat that you gave me. It was from one of the earlier books. I just gave him for free.
Okay.
Like Stick and Dodge or something like that. I forget what it's called. Shank and Carry.
Shank and Carry.
Something. And he said, he gave me this kind of like, he laid out what he was attempting to do. And he spoke for, 5 to 10 seconds before he actually rolled the die. And I'm like, if you're going to take the time to do that, I've got to match that effort as your GM. So he did the thing. And then I'm like...
Succeeded?
And he succeeded, right?
Okay.
And I'm like, okay. I grabbed everybody else and ran him into the other room and left him there. And I said, okay, you guys, here's what's happening. Ben's character doesn't see this happen. He thinks everything he said he was trying to do is what actually happened. Mm-hmm. But you guys see something different. And what you see is the Umbral Dragon moving and sticking and matching the movements of Ajax, almost like they're both on a synchronized swimming kind of a thing going on, right? And there comes a point where a shadow erupts from Ajax's mouth, leaps into the monk's mouth, and he puppeteers the monk, who does some shenanigans, jumping up against the wall to do a flying kick against the bad guy, and just happened to do the amount of damage it took to down him. And then he resumed his spot. The shadow then left the monk, Tadashi, and Tadashi kind of almost falls on her ass on the table where she was originally, and the shadow comes back into Ajax's mouth, and he's still doing things like nothing was different. And now the bad guy is downed. So all the players got to see this this really cool thing from one of the other players, and the player who initiated it has no fucking clue. And I doubt he's watching this right now, so he won't know.
I don't think Ben watches this
and
at all.
None of the other characters said anything about it for the rest of that session.
That's cool.
And they're kind of like not really looking at him, and they're carrying that knowledge with them. An Umbral Dragon, and underneath that Umbral Dragon, our party rogue lost his shadow shit, took over one of the other player characters, downed a motherfucker, came back. What is this shadow thing that's inside of our rogue?
Because I remember a session or two ago, the Umbral Dragon like cut off a piece of his shadow and kept it.
Sure did.
And that turns into like a little ribbon on her or whatever.
Yep.
Which is fucking cool, by the way.
Yeah, cool. I appreciate that. Yeah. Were you there for the session where Ajax had to do the chase scene with the subsystem rules and had to run from one side of the docks to the other?
I missed that one, yeah.
Okay. There's I forget what movie it was. It might have been a Harry Potter or something else. But basically, like a shadow is jumping into, this street hustler on the road, and that guy runs out and goes stick, stick, stick.
Right.
And then, the entity moves from person to person. So the entire it's the Matrix. It's the fucking Matrix.
Cool.
Everybody is a possible Mr. Smith, and everybody is the enemy. And he had to do his chase scene by busting through the party crowd.
So did Ajax take Shadow Dancer?
He ended up taking Shadow Dancer, which is why I'm playing all the Shadow play.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. I had no idea. I was just taking a guess in the dark, but it goes perfectly with Rogue.
Yeah. So, all the Ajax stuff before he took Shadow Dancer, I tried to keep it like Poison themed and Sherlock Holmesy themed, because that's what the player gave me for 10 levels. And then brought up the Shadow Dancer archetype, and I'm like, I think I could do something with this.
It's freaking cool.
So Edgewatch was pretty fun.
And classic.
And classic, right?
Yeah, Shadow Dancer's been in the game for a long time.
Yeah. So I'm pretty happy with how it worked out. And again, running 4 players versus 5 players is an easier load for me specifically.
Totally. You're welcome.
You were clearly missed at the table.
You're welcome.
But it was easier.
Yeah, totally.
Anyhow, it's just weird what like the vibe of a table looks like and feels like when one person who's always been there is just not there anymore.
Well, text me if you ever have any rules questions. I'll answer them at work. Be like, sorry guys. Yeah. Just sip on that for a second.
Yep.
I need to text my friends about these D&D rules. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, Nick is not allowed to leave the table if you're gone. One of you has to be there at all times.
Without him, you guys are going to be marooned.
Yeah, we're going to be playing Powered by the Apocalypse if you guys are
basically. I mean, just roll dice. If it's higher than 10, you get it.
Right. I mean...
I know. That's what you would prefer. That's actually what you would prefer.
So that was Edgewatch. Yeah. What about Kingmaker?
So Kingmaker, the players have finally decided to go to war with the trolls, and they left their
hex. Them trolls.
They're chasing after the trolls. They've circumnavigated around a hex. They know how to flame worm in it, a minor dragon character, and which is kind of weird. Like I'm running the book as is, and like there's trolls on one hex, and then directly to the east of them is a fire dragon. It's like or fire drake, but it's like they're weak against him. Maybe that's why they haven't expanded east. You know what I mean? Because it's there, right? Yeah. But anyway, so
they're just eating their way towards it.
Yeah, they're eating their way around it, really. So they circumnavigated that hex to come in on the other side, and they scouted the hex. They made some plans, and one thing led to another. They waited for some trolls to leave. Yep. And some trolls and hobgoblins left. They knew there were going to be hobgoblins there. So our
plan was excellent. Our execution was not.
So they what did you call it? Not a heist. It's an ambush. So they planned an ambush on this like deer trail created by trolls, which I mean is pretty big. It's like a 10-foot wide deer trail. But I kind of like drew it freely on the board, so it kind of meandered a bit, and everything else was difficult terrain.
Yeah. Pro tip, don't try to plan an ambush against creatures that can see through cover of all kinds.
Okay, so
Doesn't really work well.
So this was a troll and 3 hobgoblin archers. It was a severe encounter, but like barely. And what ended up happening is the players waited for the thing to drop, and they all attacked. The hobgoblins, I like literally didn't even look at their stat block until we did the combat. I had prepped 2 different scouting parties while we were in session because you guys were like, yeah, we're going to wait. We're going to just pick off a bunch of the scouting parties as they leave. And I was like, fuck, I didn't even think of that. God damn it. So I just threw them together real quick. And I'm like, 2 severes. We're going to have like some trolls and some troll hounds, and then some trolls with some hobgoblins because that's canonical and that's really appropriate to the book.
Sure.
It turns out the fucking hobgoblin archers are better than most 5th level fighters when it comes to shooting. Like they ignore all concealment.
It was a perfect storm of bad things happening.
Yeah, they ignore concealment. They're smart and tactical, and I play them that way. The troll is not. The troll is big, dumb, charge into you guys.
Right.
So basically, both of the casters cast like fire attacks at the troll. What does the troll do? He charges up to the people who cast the fire thing and smashes them to death.
Yeah. Our whole tactic of doing a particular formation and then having it fold on the enemy as they came up, it was fine until dice were rolled. Which is why D&D is stupid for strategy.
Well, I mean, I don't want to critique your strategy because hindsight's 2020. But the troll charged and ended up getting a really good reaction attack on the bard, and then basically downing the bard round 2. And then they attacked the witch, who had fireballs lined up, and the witch got basically 2-shot, I think. And they went to dying, and they nat 1'd on their first dying roll, and then I don't think the other players realized that, or like there were only 2 other players at the time. There was Amy, who was up in a tree, raining down arrows on the guys who were raining down arrows, basically cover firing, keeping them kind of like in their spot. And then the troll was being taken out by you. But by that time, the other person was dying 2 or dying 3. Long story short, the witch died. I had my first player death.
How did that feel?
Well, so Tyler had reached out to me a week ago and told me that they needed to like exit the game, you know, because of life and stuff. And like, as a guy who just dropped another game that they're in, like, I totally get it. You know what I mean? Like, nothing's taken personal. So, so I already lined up a couple fun tie-ins to the story as to why they're leaving. I was literally going to Shanghai them by one of the BBEGs of the entire campaign. They were basically going to get kidnapped mid-fight by the BBEG of the entire game, and that was going to light a fire under your character's butt to be like, I need to find her, because you and her character was like really tied together. But turns out the dice just decided to kill her. Because she rolled a nat 1 and then another failure, and then they died.
Tactics are always going to trump strategy.
Exactly.
In this particular rule set.
And you guys eventually ended up killing 2 out of the 3 hobgoblins. The last one ran away. And that, as a DM, that was awesome.
Yeah, and that's yet another example of how strategy doesn't amount to anything. We brought with us one of our Kingmaker story allies, the warg, and the idea was for the warg to help us to execute our raid on the Troll Fortress. And so my character was thinking, okay, that hobgoblin's running away. The warg's got him.
Totally.
And we found out that the warg was probably one-shotted.
So the warg, like. See, what's crazy to me is you guys thought the warg was way more powerful than they really were. Like when you encountered the warg, that encounter was going to be really easy for you guys, but you took it really seriously. So I played the warg as he didn't know how powerful you were. So both of you were like bluffing, and you're both like, all right, we're going to have a truce. I was like, all right, cool. So then you go to the warg later and you bring him with you, and the warg travels along, and the wargs are like the second level monster.
Yeah, you stuck straight to the numbers and nothing but the numbers. So that's
and to me, that's fun. You know what I mean? You guys find the warg with 2 arrows in its stomach, bled to death on the trail, and you're like, oh shit, here's this ally I thought we had, and now they're dead.
Right.
The stakes, the thing you'd always talk about, have just gone up. You know what I mean? The enemy knows that they've been counterattacked by the humans now, and the stakes have gone up. Our plan didn't work. What do we do now? To me, that's the lead up to like a great movie.
Yeah, I hope so. We'll get there.
You know what I mean?
I really do hope so, because if that doesn't happen, that poses the question in the player's mind, why even try to strategize if the tactics are the only thing that matter? So if you're building up to that movie cinematic scene, fantastic. I'm absolutely here for it. But we put a lot of effort into like prepping for that encounter, and every single thing just kind of got pulled away.
Everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face.
Yeah. So tactics will always trump strategy.
To me, here's the biggest difference between us as players, I think, is like, to me, that's awesome, because to me, D&D or TTRPGs are all about like emergent gameplay where things happen that you don't expect them to happen. And that's the story now. And often, they don't play out like the stories we're trying to write. And that's why I don't believe in like DMs writing a story for the players. I believe in the players writing the story, and the DM helps them along the way as like an equal contributor. So like when random shit like this happens and someone dies in the moment, to me, this is just like, I never expected the book to write this chapter, but here we are. Sure. This is the chapter. I wonder what's going to happen next.
Once in a while, that's totally the thing to do. George Martin kind of made his career on that.
Got it.
You know, nobody thought Ned Stark was going to die. No, it's not a spoiler. The book's been out for 20 years. And that's
fucking nerds.
That's kind of like the big deal.
Right.
But main characters didn't continue to die leading up to that death.
Right.
That was a carefully chosen moment where everything failed, regardless of how carefully the plan was constructed.
Gotcha.
So when multiple subsequent plans fail in a row, I think that's going to be the point where players are like, why even bother? Let's just go. I'm just going to roll initiative and jump in, because tactics will always trump strategy.
What do you mean by tactics?
Tactics, it means the numbers behind the NPC or creature or hazard. That's what matters. So you knew what the math of the warg was. So the whole point sessions ago of us saying we're going to bring the warg to help us in this endeavor. We're going to bring our allies that we won through gameplay to help us to push forward our gains, in this case, towards the Troll March, I guess. And then we did that, and it didn't amount to anything because there were numbers behind it that didn't support that. When we were attempting to ambush the first of 2 war parties or scouting parties, the Hobgoblin and the Troll, we came up with what all of us at the table thought was a pretty sound strategy. But the tactics of the situation, meaning the numbers that you rolled on your side, made that hour and a half's worth of discussion before that completely irrelevant.
I don't think that's true at all.
Okay.
Because if you guys hadn't prepped to the amount you did to get to that point, you would have been fucked.
We were fucked anyways.
No, you weren't.
We lost a party member. We almost lost 2. And the only reason we didn't is because we had a fighter. 2 fighters.
2 fighters. But like you succeeded in the end, barely by the skin of your teeth. But like, had you not prepped any fire weapons walking into the thing, like one of your players had 3 fireballs lined up, and they only got to land 2 because everyone attacked before they launched their fireball.
Right.
Like, I don't want to nitpick the strategy, you know what I mean? But like, it could have been better. You know what I mean?
I'm curious what your stories out there are.
Yeah, tell us, Goblins.
How many of your constructed strategies actually amounted to something within a campaign game?
Yeah, totally.
Not so much like a one-off, one-night session, but like if you're playing in an AP or a game that lasts for 6 months or something like that.
Totally, yeah.
Like, what's the percentage of the strategy that can overcome tactical decisions, and then vice versa? I know what my 3 decades have taught me.
Yeah, I definitely want to hear it. You know what I mean?
And I think it's also largely who's behind the GM screen as well.
It's true. Yeah.
So
true. I'm trying not to be defensive right now. Like, but it's just hard for me because like to me, it was a really cool moment and a big chapter turn in the story, like a big stakes raise in the story.
Yeah, no kidding.
And it feels like you're making it sound like let me rephrase. I'm hearing that it was a feel bad for everyone at the table.
Okay, I didn't mean to speak for everyone at the table.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, that's what we played, Goblins. Yeah. I didn't mean for it to get that heavy, but it's really interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I know I've run games kind of like that too, where everybody's like planning carefully and, you know, taking care to do the things that make sense for their characters and all that. And then, you know, I don't know, I do my thing on my side and I get people looking at me like,
what the hell, man?
Yeah.
Eric,
are you paying attention to us over here?
Yeah, totally.
But yeah. So I didn't mean to shit on your game. That wasn't my intent.
No. Yeah, I'm just trying to. I picked up. I was. If I'm being completely honest, I heard a little bit of salt there, and I was trying to pick that apart. And see, like,
for sure.
What was going on? You know what I mean? Because we don't talk about our games outside of. This is where we talk about our games, Goblins, because we're so fucking busy.
You're seeing sausage made.
Sausage. Cheers.
We brought
our
meat to the space.
All right, so let's talk about Tian-Xia now that we're like 50 minutes into this podcast.
Okay. Rumor has it we talk too much.
All right. So, honorable mentions. Do you have any honorable mentions?
Nope. But I got 5 things I want to talk about.
All right, cool. So, did you pick any backgrounds?
I did not.
Okay, cool. So, 2 backgrounds really jumped out at me that I just wanted to touch on real quick.
What do you got?
They're both somehow uncommon. And to me, this doesn't make any sense.
Okay. Is everything in this book uncommon?
No, there's actually a lot of common choices, especially in the backgrounds.
Okay.
The first one is the traveling gourmand.
Okay. Yeah.
That was uncommon, and they put 2 sentences in there of like why it's appropriate to the setting. But I'm like, food is really important culturally, especially like I think you can tell the entire story of a culture through its food.
Totally.
So the idea of a traveling gourmand being unique to like Asia doesn't make any fucking sense to me.
They're all uncommon.
Like, I don't understand. No, that one's common. Right? That's common.
If it doesn't have a tag, it's common.
If it doesn't have if it doesn't have a tag, it's common.
Wow, those are invisible to me. Okay,
exactly.
Right.
Well, yeah, that's because there's a big orange tag.
Yeah.
So anyway, the traveling gourmand, I love this idea. I think it's super rad. You cook food. You're traveling the world to cook food. My partner and I just finished watching Dungeon Meshi, which is an anime about a classic D&D party where they cook and they kill and cook monsters and eat them along the way. And that's kind of like the whole plot driver of a lot of the movie or a lot of the series.
Why is this uncommon?
Loved that. So just big shout out to Traveling Gourmand. And that's a little bit of foreshadowing for what I'm going to talk about later.
There's a lot of foodies in the design space for Pathfinder. I'm noticing.
Yeah, definitely. And then the other thing, which I saw this and I knew my partner would fucking love it, is Ocean Diver. Why is Ocean Diver uncommon? Like, how is there are so many coastal places in Pathfinder. How is Ocean Diver? I don't understand it. But anyway, I think it's really cool. It's a great little slice of, like, to me, the Caribbean, you know, because my partner's from the Caribbean and she's literally an ocean diver. You know what I mean? She's like literally a diver who would catch, you know, crabs and lobsters free diving. So, like, to me, this is like very... It's a background that could be found anywhere in our world, which makes me think it's more common than uncommon. But I don't know. Maybe they're just
all of the uncommon ones I noticed, they have a place of origin on the map that this book is talking about.
Exactly.
So I think it's more of like a categorical tool, more so than you can only.
The reason I bring this up is because someone on our Discord today, when we were talking to them, said, yeah, my DM doesn't allow any uncommon options.
Okay.
And I'm like, first off, that's lame. DMs out there who are not allowing
there
uncommon.
Might be reasons.
Allow uncommon. Rare, complete disallow, but come on, uncommon, really? We can't reflavor things. They're balanced, I promise. Anyway. That's
promises.
I promise. I've read the math and it makes sense. But anyway, like in the case of that player, they wouldn't have access to the background fucking like ocean diver. Like what? You know?
Sure.
So I don't know. I just feel like for such a cool background that I never would have thought it was a thing. But the second I saw it, I was like, oh, dude, I know people in my real life who would see that and love to pick it for their character.
Sure.
And have the uncommon tag just means that there's going to be one more barrier between them and the player that they want to play. Now they're going to be, maybe now they're afraid to ask their DM, oh, I don't want to be that person. Or maybe they think they have it in their head, well, I can only get so many uncommon things on my character. This is really cool, but I should probably save uncommon for like my archetype if I'm really going to ask for something weird or something like that. You know what I mean?
That'd be kind of an interesting session 0. Like make a character where all your choices are common. And if you want uncommon, you only get 3 on your character sheet.
You get 1.
Only get 1.
That's what I would do.
1 rare, 3 uncommon. Everything else has to be common.
Well, that you could make a whole character out of rare, uncommon, uncommon, right?
But like, Gunslinger is a bad example. I always want to go to Gunslinger and I get corrected every time.
Inventor?
What's an uncommon class?
Gunslinger and Inventor are uncommon.
Okay, that's what I thought. I used to use Gunslinger and somebody would say, no, they're not uncommon.
No, they are. They're actually the only 2 uncommon classes in the whole game.
Okay, got it. And Thaumaturge?
Common.
Yeah. Okay. Anyhow, anyway. None of that really matters. Yeah, that's... I guess I never really thought of that. The rarity is supposed to be a conversation starter, not stopper.
Exactly. And when I saw that comment today on the Discord, I was like, oh, I can see where this is going.
You know, I've run games in the past, like 3rd edition and 2nd edition D&D, where it was like, I don't know all this shit you guys have memorized, so only core books for your character. That's the same thing as like only common options. It's sort of a way to remove the overhead for the GM, the way I used to handle that. Right. I don't know what this one example is driving at. But before saying, you know, you're a shitty GM because you don't let your players use uncommon options.
I never said shitty. I just
not you specifically. I'm speaking to the general you. God, that's just a shame that anybody has to go through that. Conversation starters versus stoppers. Yeah. That's where I am with the rarity situation.
Totally.
And like you said, the balance, it's a non-issue with uncommon.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's more about flavor.
Yeah, totally. So anyway, those are my 2, just 2.
Yeah. You picked the background.
Mentions.
I'm proud of you because I did not. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I like it when you choose flavorful stuff to talk about.
I mean, you're going to love me today. Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me?
Robert, I love you every day.
Aw. Yeah. But yeah. Any backgrounds jump out of you before we
Silk Farmer is a cool one.
Totally cool, yeah. And appropriate to the uncommon tag, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you know, Nick, one of our players, one of my players in Edgewatch and one of our good dear friends, he wants to create sort of like an Underdark Kingmaker experience.
Totally.
And when I read Silk Farmer, I imagined like these, spider cocoons silk. Oh. And like having a silk industry from spider abdomens, carrion crawler abdomens and stuff like that. So it's... I
just learned today that we farm horseshoe crab blood. Did you know that?
I did not. Like you and I do, and I just haven't been aware of it. Yeah, is this some Fight Club shit where I do this at night?
You do. It's true. There's a lab I've got downstairs, and there's just a bunch of living horseshoe crabs on a rail with tubes stuck up their butt, and blue liquid comes out.
So when all you goblins descend on Portland in the beginning of October, we're going to make an expedition from Lloyd Center to apparently my secret lab downstairs in your secret apartment.
You're the one who groped me into it. You just needed me to cook the books.
I am super convincing when I'm asleep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's jump into our top 5.
Top 5.
Do you want to start or do you want me to start?
Let's save that for last. One of the things about this book, and cards on the table here, I know almost nothing. I'm a fake nerd, to use your vernacular, when it comes to Eastern influences. So I don't know a lot. You know, I don't watch anime. I don't absorb a lot of manga, hardly any. I just don't have that kind of like influential cultural backbone built up over the years of absorbing all that stuff. So take everything I say for the next 3 hours of this episode with a grain of salt.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so that being said, I really want to talk about the 5 Breath Vanguard, character options, page 90.
Okay, yeah, all right. And like for all the people at home, all the goblins who are watching, I mean, I grew up reading manga and watching anime and stuff like that. I have a formal education in economics and economic history. And I actually wrote a bunch of papers on Japan. But I wrote about like specifically World War II and like almost before World War II Japan, but mainly post World War II Japan economics.
Okay.
So when it comes to Japanese culture and history, I know like the big overarching things of Japanese history going back to the early 1000 era. Anything before that, I have no fucking clue. But basically 1000 to 1800, like the Meiji Restoration, I know the names of the movements of the, I know the Edo period and stuff like that. But besides that and the Spark Notes, that's it. That's all I know. Yeah. And then I know a fuck ton about like 30 years of Japanese history from the lens of economics. And beyond that,
I've watched Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and I like ramen. That's my background.
Sick. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, and 80s Nintendo.
Yeah. And my family, I have family members.
Education in Japanese history.
My family members are I have Japanese family members.
I'm learning all kinds of things about you.
You didn't know that?
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
So this book has some archetypes in it. And,
a lot of archetypes, actually.
It does.
Archetype expansions, too, which I really like the idea of.
That's involved in another thing I want to talk about.
Oh, hell yeah.
Which is the design space that this is promising going forward is gonna fucking blow up.
Yeah,
and we'll get to that. But the 5-breath Vanguard, the thing I like about it, it's an archetype. We all know what that means. And it's not like super tied to anything. You can play a monk 5-breath Vanguard.
It's got 5 feats.
Fighter. It's got 5 different feats.
That's it.
Yeah. It starts at level 6. They got a 10, 14, 16, and 18. So this is like mid to late game is what we're talking about here. Tian elementalists of the school of 5 breaths seek mastery over the 5 elemental martial arts expressed by the following stances. The Iron Blood stance for metal, which I think is in this book. The Mountain stance for earth, also in this book. I think so, because it doesn't have a page number next to it.
Okay.
Reflected Ripple stance, which is in Secrets of Magic 202, callback. For water, let's see, the Stoked Flame stance for fire in the Secrets of Magic, book 202, another callback. And Tangled Forest stance for wood, I think also in this book.
Callback episode.
Yeah, it's either in this book or they're in fucking Player's Core or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyhow, this book right here is immediately having a conversation with other books that have come out before that. So that's worth noting right there.
Nope, not Hell of the Wild. Look for Rage of Elements.
Rage of Elements. It's the colorful one.
But anyway,
it's behind your medal on the far right.
Gotcha.
So basically, we're dealing with multi-elements, the 5 elements, God, air, earth, fire, metal, and wood, and I'm probably forgetting one.
Water.
And I thought water was the one they didn't have.
No, water's
one of the air, earth, fire, waters got removed.
Air, earth, fire, water.
Wood, metal.
Wood, metal.
Okay. See, I'm a bad nerd when it comes to this stuff. I made a monk character for somebody's game. I think it was Gabby's game. He was the husband for my my gnome Draconic Scholar. And I used the options for the Azer Keti in the Book of Absalom.
Yeah, dude.
And I used the genie blooded situation where instead of picking one element, I wanted to have all the elements coursing through my body. And I was able to do things like spend an action or 2 action or 3 actions to cycle these things through my body. So, yay, I punch earth, I punch air, I uppercut with fire. But it was so action economically inefficient, and I wasn't able to do any of the cool shit I could do. And it took rounds to set things up. And it was so obnoxious, but I had this multi-elemental fantasy in my head for my Street Fighter II Mortal Kombat monk to show up and start channeling all of these things because genie blood, right?
Totally.
Couldn't do it. They sort of like teased with a couple of beats
this
here
lets
and
you
there.
do it.
They did the same thing for fucking magic tattoos when they first got released. There was only a small handful of magic tattoos in the beginning. And they slowly started trickling
We
more
got to
out.
review Treasure Vault, dude. We got to just review.
Exactly,
I have it on the shelf. Like, well, let's just do Treasure Vault.
So all of that is to say, our multi elemental fantasies are showing up in this Eastern flavored book.
It's right there. It allows you to switch between a bunch of different stances really efficiently.
And it's all about the cycling of elements. And I'm going to jump right down to 5 breaths, 1 death, 3 actions.
So badass.
It's an 18th level feat.
Yeah. It's such a cool name. Like,
so it's an archetype. I know, right? It's like the 5-finger death punch.
Yeah,
It's up there with that.
That's what they were.
Prerequisite, induce imbalance. It's a previous feat.
Yeah.
Frequency, once per 10 minutes. Requirements, you're in an elemental stance, and the target is under the effects of indue imbalances. Check this out. You cycle through the elements in a devastating combination attack. Strike the target using the unarmed attack associated with your current elemental stance. Then you cycle the elemental stance.
Right.
Then you strike the target with the unarmed attack associated with your new elemental stance. You can continue to cycle elemental stance and strikes until you've made a strike using the unarmed attack of every elemental stance, applying the multiple attack penalty per usual. If you successfully hit the target with all 5 elemental strikes using this ability, it must attempt a fortitude save against your class DC or die.
Yeah.
As each elementally associated organ within its body shuts down. This is a death effect.
5 elemental death punch. That's what it is. Yeah.
It's fucking rad.
Shutting down all the chakras.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that archetype kind of links into some other things elsewhere in this book that I want to touch on for my other top 5 bits.
Hell yeah.
But elementalism is a thing in Eastern culture. Yeah. And when you add metal and wood and you start throwing monks into the mix and you start throwing fantasy D&D shit into the mix, you should get something like what I tried to build 3 years ago for Age of Ashes. It was unsuccessful.
We've had a lot of Tian-Xia books in Pathfinder already. In first edition. In first edition. Mm-hmm. So they had a lot of material they could just easily port and move over.
Just remap.
And what they've been doing is slowly but surely bringing that stuff in different diasporic books, right?
Diasporic books. I like that.
Oh, thanks. Is that a word? I don't know. Who knows?
It is now.
Oh, it is now. Rage of Elements, to me, like the fact that they'd use 6 elements is like incredibly big on the Asian theming of an elemental understanding of the universe.
Because it's the book of Avatar.
Well, yeah, exactly. But like also like a Western understanding of the elements, like the classic Western one only has 5. So I found that to be fascinating. Yeah. And to me, they were really, really winding up their pitch for their Tian-Xia books.
Okay.
In a lot like that plus fucking the treasure vaults with all the random, like there's a bunch of like random, like the katana and stuff like that is found in treasure vaults. And they're really setting up the pitch and kind of seeding.
Isn't the NPC dragon from Tian-Xia?
It is. So exactly.
It's funny. How many people out there were like, all this is cool shit, but why didn't this show up before the Fist of the Ruby Phoenix?
That to me, that sounds like the left hand not talking to the right. Honestly.
Maybe
that's
or maybe that AP did so well that not only did they put it into a hardback, which they haven't done for all the APs, but it sold well enough that they were like, okay, we got a character guide coming your way.
Yeah, maybe maybe that is what made the marketing department shift their focus to Tian-Xia.
I'm curious because that's what the math in my head is saying.
Well, Paizo hasn't talked to us yet. So Paizo, if you're listening, I would like
talk to this guy.
I would like some pre-release books,
Robert
please.
wants some swag.
No, just swag. Just send me a PDF Paper 2 weeks swag. Before the book comes out, so I can release a video on the day it comes out. That's all I ask for.
We'll get there. With a little bit of help from our friends.
While we're there, maybe the marketing department could tell me what they're cooking on the back end. You know what I mean? So
we're just greedy goblins. We love you guys.
We're totally greedy. Yeah.
So for me, it was the 5 breath Vanguard archetype. That's the first one I wanted to talk about. There was that, cycling the elements.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah, the 5 breath Vanguard dedication. Just the dedication by itself lets you stride and change your stance. Yeah. That's economy right there.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's almost like the fighters run and stab.
Kind of, yeah. You know? Yeah.
So there's precedent, and it's needed for this sort of thing.
Yeah, I think what they did there is they basically built in mechanics they realized they needed in order to make that power fantasy you wanted before work. Because they probably heard complaints about it before.
Swapping between stances is obnoxious when you have to pay for it.
It can be, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. So my number 5 is the Starlit Sentinel.
You're going full anime right out the gate.
Right out the gate. I got to get it out of the way.
I love it.
This is
serious art too. This is good.
Yeah, the art's awesome. So I don't know if you ever asked yourself, like, I want to play Pathfinder, but I really want to emulate, Fighting burned by moonlight, been done by daylight.
Is this a Sailor Moon shit?
Moon fight.
You're throwing my
this
way?
is the one called Sailor Moon. I want to be Sailor Moon.
I can fake being a nerd.
I want to be Sailor Moon in my Pathfinder game. Well, goblins, now you can.
Is this like Sailor Magus?
It's literally Sailor Moon.
Okay.
No, it's
I'll take your word for it because I know nothing about the Sailor
anime
Moons.
tropes. There's a whole genre or subgenre of manga and anime specifically for young girls.
Okay.
Where they're the magical schoolgirl. That's what this archetype basically
I've heard that
is.
before. All right.
That Sailor Moon kind of pioneered or made popular that trope, and there's been a bunch of them ever since. They're very well loved and appreciated, and this basically allows you to play magical schoolgirl in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. That's very cool. First dedication, it's a rare archetype, which makes sense. The first dedication feat literally gives you a Power Ranger fucking bracelet to slap and turn into Mighty Morphin Power Ranger.
I love it.
You know what I mean? You literally change into an alter ego, your magical schoolgirl alternative Sailor Moon form, or, Power Ranger, or something else. I thought it was freaking rad. My partner loves Sailor Moon to a degree that is very intense. So when I saw this, I immediately ran over to her.
Look at this.
I was like, "You can play this." It's like please play the game with me. You could have this cool thing if you play the game with me. She's already playing the game with me, goblins. But anyway, I just thought this was super cool. The rules for it are fine. They're fine.
What kind of things can you do with Sailor Moon and PF2?
You can shoot laser beams. You can heal your friends. You can blade of the heart. This one's actually metal as fuck. You drive your blade into the heart of your friend, and it does no damage to them. But as you pull out the sword from their heart, the love and bond and friendship you have with that friend determines the rune that gets added to your weapon when you use the ability. So the runes available are corrosive, flaming, frost, shock, thundering, and vitalizing. The first time you use the Blade of the Heart with a given ally, the GM should decide which rune best represents your shared relationship, such as Elegant for Frost, Respected Mentor, or Brash Thundering for Boisterous Sparring Partner. Thereafter, each time you use the Blade of the Heart with this ally, you draw the same rune. So it's like, this is my friend that I have a tumultuous frenemy relationship with. Stab of the Heart, I pull out a fire rune because we have a fiery, tumultuous relationship. But this is my other best friend who we love and we have a really warm, caring relationship. Bam, vitalizing out of your heart. And it's like the idea.
Right, and this is a doppelganger who uses an actual sword.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that would be a great twist. Are you kidding me?
Plot twist.
Plot twist. You fucking sword through the heart. Roll your death.
You got to really trust your friend to let them plunge a blade into your fucking
dying
chest.
saves.
Are you sure you're not a mimic or a doppelganger?
So yeah, it's cool Sailor Moon shit, basically. Okay. That's why I picked it, because it's too cool not to take. There's too many of us out there.
Are there other
young weebs,
super Sailor Moon-y type things that Pathfinder's come out with, or is this sort of the first one out the gate?
Define Sailor Moon-y.
I don't know. Just egregiously anime.
Oh yeah. There's a lot.
All that shit's already out there.
There's a lot more they could do, but
this one is not even pretending to be anything other than that. Are there other examples of that in other products that have come out so far, or is this sort of hey guys, we're doing an Eastern themed product and this is where we decided to play it?
None are jumping out to me immediately.
Okay,
but I
need to know. Let me know.
Goblins in the comments. Put them in the comments. What other egregious anime bullshit has found its way into Pathfinder games? Let me know.
Because when you collect them, that's an adventure right there. I would like to see.
Yeah, we play a table where everyone at the table has to play one of the 7 anime options. Yeah, we're all anime characters. That'd be sick, actually. I mean, this is kind of the book that does it. There's a lot of classic Eastern pop culture that they allow you to do. I mean, just the archetypes alone, pretty much every archetype in here could be seen as a reference to Asian pop culture throughout the past 40 years.
Sure.
Because the designers grew up on that shit. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So because
Right,
designers
which
who
now-
are writing the books now are millennials and Xers, and those millennials and Xers grew up on early anime and manga. So a lot of them are influenced by that pop culture.
Sure.
So my number 5.
That's a cool choice. and
Scarlet
it's
Sentinel.
rare.
It's rare. It's just too. I couldn't not talk about it. I could not.
As a rare archetype, does it hold up to the Rune Lord rare archetype? Other rare archetypes out there, does it kind of feel like it has about an equivalent power level?
in its power level?
Yeah.
You know, when I read it, it didn't jump out to me as very powerful, but I was kind of so enamored by the flavor.
Sure.
That my eyes honestly glazed over on the mechanics.
Yeah.
Honestly.
That's what it takes.
What's cool about this is one of the big mechanics in the game is not the elements, but the other magical system, the constellations.
Yeah.
And
like
that's
the dragon celestial constellations.
That's what they draw on is the constellations.
And that makes sense. Sailor
One
Moon.
constellation picks you as their patron, and you become the starlit sentinel of that constellation. So it's
that's fucking epic and rad.
And
that brings me to my number 4, the Zodiac.
just the Zodiac.
Yeah, it's the constellation option you were just referencing.
Totally.
All right, continue your train of thought with that because that's going to segue into this when I find the page.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I love about this is you can take this archetype and the constellation or the Zodiac idea and just bend it towards any other kind of pantheon you have in your game. One of the things I don't like about Pathfinder that they've done before and they're doing now is in my mind, there are too many gods.
There's a lot of deities.
There are too many celestial powers to the point where when there's so many celestial powers and so many beings with power in this universe, it cheapens the importance of all the others.
Yeah, it's the god version of if everybody's special, no one is.
Exactly. So to me, adding more and more of these godlike beings or these celestial powers is just kind of like...
That's why we got to kill them off in the War of Immortals.
It's god inflation.
That's god inflation.
God inflation. Godflation.
That's right.
Yeah.
What's the opposite of inflation? Deflation?
Sorry?
What's the opposite of inflation? Deflation? Deflating the celestial currency?
We need to deflate the celestial currency.
Yeah, well, we started with Gorham.
Yeah.
And we'll go from there because more are going down.
Absolutely.
I think some of the demi-human, that's not what they're called anymore, the ancestral deities are getting the axe as well.
You think so?
So I think they explicitly said so. And at least one orc god dies, another one got transformed into a child of Robagug or something.
Yeah.
So there's a lot shaken up. I think this November is when all that shit's going to hit. But I grew up in a household full of people who read the horoscope, and I am the youngest child, so I like to impress my sisters. So I had to learn about the horoscopes. And I'm a Sagittarius, which means everything, apparently.
Okay.
Anyhow, there's a real emphasis on the dragon champions of the Zodiac in the Tian-Xia setting. So, where you are in what fantasy world kind of determines where you derive your power from. And when you're sitting over there in Tian-Xia, you're dealing with imperial dragons, and you're dealing with, star people.
And I mean, like, this is a clear ripoff of like the Chinese Zodiac.
Yeah.
You know
and I'm
mean?
getting Final Fantasy 12 vibes too from this.
I never played 12.
Oh, I thought you did. Okay.
Sorry, no. I was thinking
the Zodiac
11.
Age?
I was thinking I played 12. I played 12. Yeah.
So that kind of took me back there. Yeah. Anyhow, the idea of that's my fucking glasses. I hate getting old.
Oh, Erik is old now. Poor baby.
You're almost there. Laugh it up, Buzzball.
That's fair.
So the fortunes and fates of the Dragon Empires are laid bare to those who can interpret the stars and their constellations. This is like a thing that's understood on that continent. The Tian people widely use the Dragon Empire Zodiac to mark the progression of years, months, and hours with one of the 12 constellations though each nation can have a variation of the Zodiac and its relation to their calendar and fortune. The Oracular Council of Po Li uses the Zodiac to craft official state policies considered sacred by the police.
It sounds like you're saying the police.
It does. I can't not say it now.
That's hilarious. Just call him the police. Just call him. That's his name now.
This is a sting operation.
This is a sting operation.
God damn it. I can't even go. Okay, so the Ziha calendars are marked and guided by the Zodiac, new moon, blah, 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 all that stuff. So, Where was I going with
what's
that?
the point? I don't know, man. I don't know. We got to save this. We got to save this for
I was thinking I
the
could rip
viewers.
this, but I can't. There's a number of options in this book that are guided by the zodiac, and you derive your power from that particular part of the nighttime sky.
Like the spirit sentinel.
So like spirit sentinel
exactly.
and all that. So that in and of itself, that's a thing that informs characters. It informs campaigns. It informs feat choices. It informs skill feats. It informs a large part of your game, and you can build an entire 3-year campaign just around the idea of a zodiac with different characters and NPCs deriving powers from that. The NPCs you're running up against will have their own agendas that are fed, that are, I guess, derived from that as well. So what that does is that gives us the power as players to go, I can go research that, and it will have an effect on the game.
Yeah, totally.
And it's not cheating because it's a thing everybody knows in Tian-Xia to a limited degree.
It's a lore piece.
It's a lore piece, right? And if you're using that piece of lore, that's a really cool piece of public shared empowerment that players can have in a game that seems to encourage siloing of power in terms of like, when I build my character, sure, I'm supposed to support you on the battle grid, but it's all just me stuff. But if you're playing, if there's like a Magus, a fighter, a cleric, and a rogue, and we are all deriving our power from like the Sky Dragon portion of the Zodiac, that's almost like a guild game.
Exactly.
Like a celestial guild game.
Those are the kind of games I want to play. Like those are the kinds of games I want to be in or run where there's a greater purpose that all the players kind of can rally around. And that makes for really easy DMing.
Yeah. Yeah, and that also is a place where the crunch and the lore can come together to serve the players.
Totally.
Just like if all of us at the table pick the pirate archetype, we all have the same 5 feats, and
We're all pirates.
we're all pirates, right?
Yeah.
We're here together. We're in it to win it. We're pirates.
Yep.
That doesn't excite me as much as we all derive our power and our mission and our purpose from the Sky Dragon,
From the golden dragon in the sky.
Yeah, and that's that's a cool little like 5-degree shift
Totally.
in table building, I think. So that's why it made my list. That wasn't really there before this book came out for me. The archetypes that everybody picked was that. But here you can still build your character with your class and your archetype and do this on top of that.
So you think it's cool that there are multiple archetypes that all draw from this same zodiac and they'll draw power from the same core idea.
Yes, and can present in new and interesting ways when you change that up.
Dope.
So
I love that.
Yeah.
So
That's my
number 4
I think we're on 4, yes.
is got to be fan dance. I gotcha.
Did I get robbed?
You did. Yeah, you were reading and I totally fucking slipped my drink around.
Mine?
You stole my drink so many times in
Better
this.
than roofies.
It's almost like the reverse of roofies.
Reverse roofie.
Yeah. So, fan dancer.
Yeah.
Getting back to that classic pop cultural reference, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, not only is it a great pop cultural reference, but it's just a good archetype. Like, fan dancer is just so interesting to me. Like, it's legitimately just like a really good offensive combo for a swashbuckler. One of your favorite classes.
Yeah.
One of Eric's favorite
the only
classes.
thing missing is an
swashbuckler.
investigator archetype.
Exactly. So one of the best feats here is pushing wind. It's a level 8 feat. What is
That's
it?
the name they picked?
Pushing wind.
Pushing wind.
So
All right.
so long as you're holding a fan. What I love, what's actually kind of too powerful about this feat is that it's not a stance or anything like that. It's literally just a static ability that you just now have so long as you're doing the thing you're already doing.
Okay.
This is actually like warning. This is actually a really dangerous design space to get into because by giving you something like this, especially something this powerful, whenever you're holding a fan, whenever you're doing the thing you're already doing, this is the kind of stuff that creates power creep in a system.
Okay.
So my personal opinion, there's a couple of things I would have changed about this book balance wise that I think are off. An important thing is pushing wind. This should have been a stance because you and your allies, when they start their turn, within 30 feet aura emanating around you, gain a 5-foot circumstance bonus to land speed for 1 round.
Okay.
Just every round. You're just holding a fan. If you're wielding a fan, if you have a fan in your hand, everyone around you moves 5 feet faster now.
That seems a little crazy.
And there's another ability as well. You also gain this bonus to your fly speed if you possess one. Additionally, the air impedes movement of your foes. While holding a fan, the area in a 10-foot aura emanating around you is difficult terrain for all enemies.
That seems like a lot for an 8th level feat.
An 8th level feat. This is powerful, man, especially in the hands of a swashbuckler, because a swashbuckler can wield one fan in their hand, right?
Sure.
Do their whole swashbuckler thing. And now they're even faster to get to you, but if the opponent wants to get to you, they now have to spend extra movement.
Sure.
It's a 10-foot emanation, so that means that difficult terrain increases their movement, their amount of movement by like 10 or 15, basically.
Okay.
Or sorry, 5 or 10. That's powerful on its own, but all these other abilities in here are really tailored to doing. Like, it's an efficient archetype.
And there's a lot of options for that one
There
archetype.
are a lot of options. Yeah.
That's crazy.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 options.
Yeah.
It's practically a freaking class.
Yeah.
It's practically a freaking class. And you know, when archetypes like this come out, they make me chew on my previous words that free archetype doesn't increase power.
Sure. Yeah. Thankfully, it's not common.
No, it's definitely not common. It's uncommon.
But why isn't it rare if it's that
why
powerful?
isn't it rare? And that, you know, maybe that's kind of the turning point here. Maybe the designer was kind of on the edge of that rare uncommon divide, and they went with uncommon when they probably should have been safe and went with rare.
On the side of more, yeah.
You know, because the thing about rarities is that, like, if you ask for it, the DM might just give it to you.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But what's really cool about this archetype, to hype it up, is that it's really, really good at tumble throughs. And the swashbucklers, like the core swashbuckler, any kind of flavor swashbuckler you are, they all care about tumble through, and then their subclass determines the other ability that they get panache with.
Okay.
This way, you just if you focus on just the core swashbuckler ability, you're really good at it, and the whole, like, a bunch of the feats in the class add to that tumble through stance. It also just does a really good job of encapsulating, like, the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon whole, like, that whole, like,
vibes.
Yeah, exactly. That whole, like, kung fu movie vibe is all in here. There's a feat called Sweeping Fan Block. It's a 6th level feat.
Yep.
Where you literally use your fans to slow down bullets and catch them. There's a sentence in here that says, if the triggering attack misses, you can redirect the ammunition to a nearby pocket or container where it can be retrieved or reused.
Bullet time. Pathinder.
That's I love that, because it harkens back to, like, I don't actually know if this is a thing in Pathfinder anymore, because I've never played a monk, but, you know, 3.5 monks, and I think Pathfinder monks had Snatch Arrow, where basically if you get shot by an arrow, you're just like, nah, fam, this is mine now.
Yeah.
I'm immune to one arrow
shot
a round, which is badass. Yeah. So yeah, I just want to call it Fan
That's
Dancer.
Interesting.
Fan Dancer. It's just a really powerful archetype for swashbucklers and probably rogues. Anyone who wants to tumble through and gets benefits for tumble through and stuff like that. It makes tumbling through way more efficient and powerful.
Does it continue on? No,
No, it's just one. It's just 2
So
pages.
with all of those options, it only goes up to 14. There's no 16 or 18.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's really interesting.
It caps at mid-level.
Yeah, I mean, that's not even
Mid-high.
that's honestly, that 14th level is end game for most people, I want to say.
Yeah.
Most APs
but
end
it's
at
not like-
15.
it's not when characters are getting their apex moves.
That's true. That's at least it doesn't overshadow characters' apex.
That's
moves.
curious. I just didn't pick that up as I passed through that particular section.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a ton of options, but they're all low to mid. Okay. All right.
Yeah, so here's a great example. When you attempt to tumble through an enemy space, you can use performance instead of acrobatics.
Okay.
A bunch of that stuff.
Yeah.
There's just a bunch of that stuff. And you know what class is really focused on performing? Swashbuckler.
Yeah.
So now you can play a charisma-based swashbuckler and not worry about your decks.
That seems to be a thing they're doing. Like alchemists can now use their crafting for medicinal purposes.
Okay, yeah, but that's been
these guys can now use.
That's been a thing for a while, Eric.
Well, I know, but like in terms of like spreading that sort of love to the other classes.
So there is a really big problem, a really big challenge in Pathfinder 2nd Edition from a game design perspective. Because of the way the point buy has been designed from the very get-go in multiple attribute dependent classes, mad classes are far more weaker than non-mad classes. The way they designed the game, they kind of exacerbated an issue that we had in 1st edition with mad classes. But the thing about mad classes in 1st edition is we had a point buy system that allowed us to min-max classes and make them on par with non-mad classes if we did everything right. And we got specific items along the way through the games.
Okay. But we don't have that here?
In Pathfinder 2nd Edition, no. Ability score modifiers are rare, if not impossible to get. They're like apex items, basically, at the end of the game. So the only way to increase your stats is by leveling. And because of that, it really diminishes the power of any class that requires, or combination of class and archetype that requires multiple attributes to be good.
Okay.
So allowing classes, specifically classes that have like where you can pick, like when you pick a class, you get one more bonus to your stat from the class. Like allowing classes that have multiple stat choices to shift all of their focus to that one stat is really important. Just based on the math of the game. Because if you have an intelligence-based investigator, they need to be able to attack with their intelligence.
Right.
That's the challenge that's one of the biggest challenges with Alchemist, is that they can't attack with their intelligence.
Right.
They deal extra damage with their intelligence, but they can't literally attack with it. And because of that, it significantly holds them back. I mean, at first level, from 1st to 4th level, you only have the maximum you can have if you optimized your character is a +3 to hit instead of a +4. And then at 5th level, you're even for 5 levels. And then at 10th level, you're behind for another 4 levels from 10th level to 4th level. And you and I both know, more than anyone, after playing the fighter, whose whole sole ability is I have +2 higher attack. That +1 matters in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, way more than it's mattered in other editions.
Sure.
So MAD is really important. And that's why, because MAD's really important, abilities like this that let you use X ability score instead of Y ability score are really powerful. Now, abilities that allow you to use one skill instead of another skill are also powerful, but they're not as powerful when it's the same attribute.
Okay.
So there's a really great example of this is Natural Healer, I think it's called. It's a core skill feat that lets you use nature instead of medicine.
Sure.
Well, nature and medicine are both wisdom based. So it kind of doesn't matter, but if it let you use intelligence instead of wisdom, that would be amazing, because now you can have a really good battle medic who never has to dip into wisdom and never has to allocate those points to wisdom. And that's important to the game balance. So that's why red flags pop up in my mind, or I should say red flags. The big green munchkin flags pop up in my mind when I see things like performance instead of acrobatics, because now I get to use my charisma bonus instead of my dexterity bonus. Right. And that's important.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
So it's really good archetype. I highly recommend it, especially if you're into swashbuckler or a rogue or anyone else who wants to tumble through, especially tumble through, but also do some really cool, have like a mobility boost, and pushing wind on its own is worth the price of admission. Honestly, it really is. And the fan weapon,
picked a different name.
I know, dude. I know, but like the fan weapon, the war fan, I don't know if it's actually in here. But it's pretty decent. It's like a 1d4 dagger, if I'm not mistaken. But it's got a bunch of really cool abilities to it.
Nice.
But yeah, what's your number 3?
My number 3, let's
Or did you already do number 3? You're number 2 now, right?
Yeah. So I think it's time to talk about the Tanuki. because that's
Dude, you fucking stole the Tanuki. I chose that one too. So we're doing a double wombo combo.
Let's do that. It's not my number one. It's my number two.
Tanuki's my number one.
Yeah, I
by
thought
far.
it might be.
Yeah, by far. I fucking love that shit.
And I know
dude.
it is for a lot of people out here
absolutely.
too.
Tanuki, they home run the Tanuki. They home run the
so
Tanuki.
So much fun. It's delicious.
All right, Eric, talk to me.
So the first thing I want to mention is how long have I been crying about the design space for like Constitution centric characters? We need more stuff you can do with Constitution.
Okay.
I'm tired of just equating Constitution with extra hit points. I
and
want something
fortitude
else.
saves.
And fortitude saves. Yay, big deal.
Yeah.
And then, when we had the whole what is it, first edition Kineticus, were they con?
They were, yeah.
They were. Second edition?
Also con.
Also con. So that's kind of it. That feels like where PF2 is starting.
Go to jail. Right to jail.
So with the Tanuki, we got a con
also
charisma. So we got our little Buddha, our happy little Buddha character. So that's pretty much what it is.
That's an interesting way to put it. Yep. That's
so what do I like about the Tanuki? Again, I do not know East Asian things, South Asian things. I just don't. But I've seen Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh my God.
And I like Rocket.
Okay. Rocket is not a Tanuki, but please go on.
Well, if you're a raccoon, you're a Tanuki, aren't you?
No, that's not the same thing. Hey, but all right, go on.
I played Super Mario Brothers 3. I know what a Tanuki was.
That's a Tanuki. Yeah.
So what do I like about the Tanuki? When I read through this, as a Western guy who doesn't know anything about Eastern things,
gotcha,
something that really stood out to me was that the Tanuki, as an ancestry, they don't have any gods that represent them. The dwarves do, the elves do, gnomes do, halflings do. It seems like everybody's got celestial people looking out for them.
Right.
But the Tanuki don't.
They don't.
And as a result, it explicitly says, well, we don't have any gods of our own, so we got to look out for each other. So this idea of an ancestry that's almost like they're not atheistic, but they seem to practice atheism as we know it out here.
Interesting take.
Just be a cool fucking human being. Stop being a dick.
Okay.
There's nothing out there.
So you're saying they're humanists. They're not necessarily like...
After a fashion, yeah. There's only so far you can take that in a world where gods exist. But the other connection I made with that was Grandmother Spider, who's my favorite deity in the Pathfinder 2 universe. And her thing is she's the goddess of, rewarding people who punch up, doing tricks on people to kind of like humble them and bring them down a bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's the one who wants to lay low those with pride and ego and teach them a few things. And I'm really hoping that comes out in the War of Immortals. Like I really want War of Immortals to be about Grandmother Spider and Norgorber on opposite ends of the ring and everybody else between them visibly duking it out.
There's Eric's pipe dream.
Yeah.
Paizo, we know you're listening. Give Eric his pipe dream.
Did I accidentally get one thing right in all my predictions?
Give him his pipe dream.
But yeah, the Tanuki and Grandmother Spider kind of they kind of scratch the same itch for me.
Totally.
Which is sort of like
I can see you playing a Tanuki who worships Grandmother Spider.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And
the Constitution charisma kind of deal. You don't see those two stats
you
really
don't.
bumping uglies on a character sheet.
You don't.
And I'd like to see the rewards of that beyond a Tanuki build.
Absolutely.
I want to see them encourage that design space. The changing shape of the Tanuki.
So fucking cool.
It's cool. And let's talk about their apex ability.
Because you don't know like the lore of Tanukis and the background of them.
Sure.
Let me just jump in real quick. So
do it.
There is a very famous anime movie that you have to go home now and watch. So you fall in love with Tanukis.
Hallmark.
It's called Pompoko.
Okay.
I looked it up just to double check. I had the name right. So Pompoko is literally a story about a group of Tanukis who live in a forested area that's about to get taken over by a construction company, and their natural land is going to be destroyed by a construction company. So the thing about Tanukis, and I could be wrong here. I don't know if this is just Pompoko's characterization of them in their movie, or if this is more appropriate to Tanukis in classic Japanese like lore and story.
Right.
But in a lot of East Asian cultures, especially in China and a lot in Japan, fertility and the genitalia of men and women are like a big normalized thing. So Tanuki are shapeshifters. They're crafty and they change form, and they do a really good job about capturing the changing form and the craftiness of them. But they also part of their shapeshifting, at least in Pop Poco, and I think I've seen some other pop cultural references to Tanuki. They use their ball sack to transform into a bunch of stuff. And if you watch Pop Poco, you'll see that they actually use their ball sack as like a parachute and part of the thing. And I was really kind of disappointed they didn't go the ball sack route in Pathfinders.
Maybe that'll show up in Pathfinder Infinite.
Yeah. So anyway,
test gliding.
They're like mischievous little guys.
Yeah, they're like benevolent tricksters. Is the impression I got.
Parties.
Yeah,
they're kind of like
they love parties so much they made a feet where you invite 300 of your friends.
808.
808 of your friends.
Yeah,
is that a zip code reference? What's the 808?
808 is a reference. I mean, I don't think it's a reference. I don't
like
know.
Detroit Tanuki.
Oh, so 808 is the area code for Hawaii.
Oh, I thought that was 303. Okay.
No, it's 808. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's probably not a reference to Hawaii, but I think it's probably a reference to something more culturally relevant to Japan. But these are straight ripped out of Japan, man. This is a Japanese cultural icon.
I got.
Absolutely, yeah.
I like the idea of the benevolent trickster and the whole idea of that. What's their apex ability? You can turn into a fucking
do you want me to talk about it?
Or something?
Two things. They have 2 apex feats. I have notes for this, dude. I have notes.
This is your number 1, so I'll turn this over to you.
Landscape form. My only note is I can't. So basically, Tanuki, they have a strong line of transformation abilities. Just their core ability, without any ancestry feats, is they can turn into a little raccoon. Basically,
yeah.
They call it a raccoon dog in the depiction, but it's a raccoon.
Right.
They can turn to like a normal raccoon.
Rocket.
Okay,
continue.
Eric, Rocket is a awakened raccoon.
Okay.
Tanuki,
like in Howl of the Wild.
Are what? Yes, like in Howl of the Wild. Yeah, actually, yeah. If you want to play Rocket, you play an awakened raccoon.
Okay.
Tanuki are very different than Rocket.
So an awakened raccoon character who continually tells people to stop asking him to turn into things.
Awaken. Oh, okay. Listen. That's funny, but okay. Goblins, you tell me. Is Rocket a Tanuki reference the whole time, or is he just an awakened raccoon? Let us know in the comments. So anyway, landscape form, they could turn into shit. They have a bunch of crazy abilities that allow them to turn into funny things. And the abilities are actually really good. Like low-key. They're really good. Landscape form lets you literally turn into, it's a 17th level ability. Lets you turn into like a hot spring. Which is what it feels like right now in this room. A hot spring.
Kidding, man. Look how red we are.
Or it lets you turn into a whole ass fucking inn with drinks and stuff like that.
I was lead up to, and I was hoping I could have that fucking book in my hand.
What are you looking for?
Your Book of the Dead.
Oh yeah, I don't know where that is.
So like, imagine like a Tanuki that is a ghoul Tanuki. What would that inn look like? What would that landscape look like? What if you were playing a celestial blooded Tanuki?
Right.
What would that inn or landscape look like? What if you were playing a lich Tanuki? You know, just like whatever you pair, your Venn diagram, or one circle's Tanuki and the other one is what? That's everything. And this is letting us do that now. It's not just Tanuki for the sake of, mythologically correct Tanukis. It's what other ingredients are you throwing in there?
Exactly. What I love is like, so they're one of their first level.
Werewolf Tanuki.
One of their werewolf Tanuki. A werebear Tanuki. God damn, so many animals.
That's how you make a Care Bear.
Tea kettle form.
Yeah.
It's a first level feat. It lets you turn into a tool that other people can use. It specifically says it is a tool that can be used by other people to solve problems like a crowbar.
Exactly, which is speaking to another area of the book where you can play I think it's an ancestry where you started out as an item.
Yeah.
And now you're an awakened item essentially.
Well, it's a take on the poppet. Yeah, they're just poppets.
Right.
Yeah, they're just poppets.
So like things in this book speaking to other things in this book, and both of them having crunch that kind of reflect one another.
Absolutely.
Without being redundant.
Yeah, and the name for them was really difficult for me. I kept tripping over it.
That's what it was, Yagwai.
Oh, you were talking about the Yagwai?
Yeah, the awakened items, I guess.
Okay, yeah, I got
You start out as a toilet seat, and you become
So like Yaguai are basically
Professor
like
Toilet Seat.
what happens when you are an item that transcends to consciousness and becomes a person, but you carry with you the remnants of that item. And they have different forms, like an animal or a...
You're born of elements, you're born of celestial, born of item, born of vegetation, born of animal.
But there's another ancestry in addition to that, which is one I was thinking of.
But wait, there's more.
Not the water buffalo people.
Oh, I love them too.
The what? You like the water buffalo people?
I do. And I'm a minotaur. I'm a sucker for minotaur.
Oh, yeah, totally.
The poppet? Yep.
Yeah, so say that word for me, Eric.
Sukumogami. Mogami.
You did good.
Tsukumogami. Hey, I watch HBO.
Dude, look, the Tsukumogami are fucking rad.
Yeah.
Because
Tokyo Vice, yo. That's where I learned all my Japanese.
Oh, that's a thing? I didn't know that.
Tokyo Vice? Oh, it's so good.
Is it really? Oh,
yeah. It's nonfiction, so it's probably right up your alley.
Hi.
I'll tell you about it off camera.
Okay, cool. But anyway, yeah, Tsukumogami are
super fucking good.
These are also poppets that have like, it's a umbrella or a koto and stuff like that turned into actual poppets, which is pretty rad. But yeah, back to the tanuki.
Back to the tanuki.
Tea kettle form is hilarious. I love the idea of just turning into shit randomly at the game table. Like that's such a me thing to do.
Yep.
Or like Alex, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, yeah, you're mid conversation with someone. I turn into a toilet.
Yep.
Just to make a joke.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like stop shitting on this
An
person.
out of order toilet.
You know what I mean? Oh yeah, with a little sign that says out of order. There's another feat that lets you turn into signs and other like statues of things to blend in.
Yeah, it's very Cheshire Cat.
They have a ponpoko is literally belly drum. Like that's a feat. That's like in reference to that, or maybe it might not be in reference to the actual movie. They might both be in reference to a cultural Japanese thing, but sure. Anyway, that's actually a lot of fun for bard. Can you imagine playing a Tanuki bard of Caden Callian and literally having beer in one hand and then drumming to a beat?
Charisma Constitution, baby. That's your god.
Exactly.
See? Rocket.
Oh my God.
That fucking art is straight up rocket.
Oh my God, Eric.
Tell me that the art on page 67 of your book is not rocket.
So my favorite thing out of everything though, Eric, my favorite thing, not even the level 17 summon a party of your friends.
What do you got?
Mud Boat's Passage. Did you read that?
Mud Boat's Passage. I'm going to read it right now.
Okay, read it for the
I read it,
for the goblins.
Resonating.
It's so over the top.
Over the top.
Oh, he's putting on
putting
on the glasses. He's putting them on. I'm old, yo.
Mud Boat's Passage, 9th level feat, primal Tanuki. You instinctively create magical boats that keep your feet dry, mostly. You can walk on the surface of water and other non-damaging liquids, moving at half your normal speed, as a magical boat forms under your feet to carry you. Unfortunately, this magical boat is made out of mud, so you can't get very far. If you end your turn without reaching solid ground, the boat dissolves and you sink. Welcome to level 9 as a Tanuki.
I fucking can't with this. You turn the shapeshifter turns their feet into boats.
Yep.
So they can walk on water. That's the most. That's
what
the
are
funniest
you spending
shit.
your level 9 feats on?
That's the funniest shit I've ever seen. For a feat ever. Like that takes the cake. It takes the cake. There's nothing greater than that. I just can't.
Cake taken because Tanuki like cake.
Exactly. Hey, me too, baby.
Yeah. So their big ass apex ability here. It's 3 actions, level feat level 17. It's fucking hot in here. I can't think. Start the festival. Frequency once per day. No distance can stop Tanuki from making their way to a good party. You whistle and point. And 808 Tanuki in their raccoon dog form somehow appear from the surrounding terrain and fill a 30-foot burst within 120 feet.
This is main character shit right here. This is you're the protagonist.
Super move in a street fighting game, like a 1v1 street fighting game. And you get your little bar all the way up to the full, and then you pop that.
Exactly.
The disco lights show up, and 880 of your friends.
Yeah.
Kind of pop. Let's see. The Tanuki scurry over the ground, leap through the air, and climb through the walls and surfaces, dealing 68 bludgeoning damage to all enemies in the area as they're trampled and danced upon. The Tanuki continue to party in the area for the next minute, dealing 3d8 bludgeoning damage. Harsh.
It's actually not a lot of damage for 17th level.
It's not, but it's like a fucking mosh pit. It's a Tanuki, a raccoon mosh pit.
Yeah.
Give everybody rabies. Now it's a party. 3d8 bludgeoning damage to any enemy that ends its turn in the area and transforming the area into difficult terrain, though the Tanuki will allow you and your enemies to pass normally, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, they strike up an impromptu dance party / mosh pit, and it's... Everybody has flight by that point, so it's not a huge deal. But just the idea of these con and charisma-based party raccoons belly bopping people for damage... You know, it's not elbows and fingers in a mosh pit.
It's belly bopping.
It's the Happy Buddha times 808.
Oh my God, yeah.
So that's just, I don't know what to make of it. It's so over the top gonzo and video gaming that I probably wouldn't run a game after that using that same character. I don't know. It's just like, it's once that happens, there's nowhere to go but down.
Yeah, it's definitely gonzo. It's not gonzo. What's the word? Animaniacs.
Yeah,
it's definitely Animaniacs. We need a tighter word for that kind of game. Animaniacs just has too many syllables. Syllables. Yeah.
So Tanuki, that was your number 1. That was my, I guess, number 4.
Number 3 or 4.
Yeah, something like that.
2.
Do you have your number 2?
Wandering Chef.
Tell me. Talk to me about Wandering Chef.
Did you pick Wandering Chef too?
I did not, but it's Wandering Chef adjacent.
Hell yeah. So this is an archetype that basically makes you an alchemist, except for only alchemical food. So the main thing I love about this is first off, this is another one of those archetypes where I like it because my partner would love this.
Totally, yeah.
Right? She's trying to play a cook in our game now. She is a cook in real life, not professionally, but culturally,
she's got the chops.
She loves cooking. It's her favorite thing. It's like one of her biggest hobbies. Is just cooking interesting things all the time.
I like it when people do their hobbies at my place.
Yeah, exactly. So when I saw this, I was just like, oh, dude, this is perfect. Okay, so that's
adorable.
There's a photo of one of the iconic wandering chefs, and it is a person holding in a kimono, I think, holding a knife. And there's a cute little bear.
It's like a Winnie the Pooh bear, awakened bear.
And and they have a scowl on their face. And I can't, like, my mind immediately goes to, like, are they going to eat that bear? Like, are they going to shank that little bear and eat it? Like, is that what's going on right now?
I'm just imagining Christopher Robin a little more grown up in the kitchen being like, Pooh Bear, don't do it.
Don't do it. Don't commit Sudoku.
Don't do it, Pooh Bear.
But yeah, so what I love about this is I love all these archetypes that take a consumable item none of us actually buy or want to play.
Yup.
And then make an archetype out of it and make us actually want to engage with it because now it's free.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not free because we had to use a choice to do it, but they're free.
Yeah.
And like,
they get to see the light of day.
I don't think Amy would ever choose I don't think she would ever really engage with cooking because she hasn't yet. And I've handed her the book. I'd be like, here are the rules.
Sure.
But if I gave her archetype as the cook and she got all of these cool items that she can make for free every day and just hand to people.
Right.
I think that's really what pushes players over the edge and really wants them to use those consumable items.
Yeah. And when you do that sort of thing, and this is the thing alchemists do and the talisman
dabbler
guys do.
And the snare crafter.
It starts to take the tactical combat-based RPG that we know, and it starts shifting that ratio a little more closer to the strategy combat-based RPG. So like tactics and strategy kind of do this from TTRPG to TTRPG. It's rarely ever even.
That's an interesting philosophy.
Like one significantly more reactive than the other.
Okay.
So by strategizing an approach to a session, you're cooking things, you're handing things out. You know, we're going into the volcano of Volcanis Doom. Everybody, eat this fucking donut. It's going to give you fire resistance.
Yeah, totally.
That's not tactical. That's strategic.
That's literally a thing you can do in this.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly. That's this. And in the
literally
Kingmaker book, when they offered the Kingmaker rules for cooking, so when you're at the campfire overnight and you can monkey with people's numbers slightly, it just seems like they're gradually giving us more stuff to do in not encounter mode, exploration mode,
mode,
which shifts that that sort of like a tactical game into still a significantly tactical game, but the strategy actually means a little bit more because of the prep work leading into it. And I'm really happy you chose the cooking archetype for that, because that's also going to segue into my number one. But finish talking about this, because I really like this bit here, especially with the Kingmaker.
I'm pretty much done with the archetype itself, but I also want to mention the cooking rituals.
Exactly. Rituals. Again, that's exploration mode and downtime mode.
Exactly. So I don't know if they were invented here. I didn't take the time to double check, but I love the idea of cooking rituals. They're ritual spells, but they include a big food component. And I believe the Wandering Chef has some abilities that allow you to do them pretty well. But the one jumped out to me. It had, let's just talk about it. It's called Butterfly
I'm so
Bender.
glad you picked this one, because this is my number one.
Oh, is it really? Okay, take it away. Take it away, Eric. No, it's all you. It's all you. Butterfly Bender.
Okay.
Butterfly Bender.
Cooking and medicine is my number one.
Okay,
and
gotcha.
the reason why cooking is my number one is because of this shift from 100% of my character sheet only really being meaningful in fucking encounter mode.
Yeah.
And being able to do things that are meaningful and fun and strategic in exploration mode. So Butterfly Bender, it's a ritual at level 3. So you get this shit early on.
The verbiage they used for this, I don't know how to put it. It struck me as different than than writing they've ever had before. There's a tonal shift.
There is, yeah.
In Butterfly, in this whole book.
It's
honestly.
a Tanuki tone.
It is. There's a tonal shift in this whole book.
Yeah, it's playful.
It's playful, and I've never seen that before in Pathfinder, really, and I'm here for it.
Yeah,
so please take it away.
I've been hearing a lot lately about the shift in Pathfinder writing in general to be more playful is one word, but that's whimsical,
silly.
Not silly, because that word gets me in trouble when I use it.
Well,
but like
I was talking about the referencing that discussion we had on our Patreon or on our Discord the other day about that Reddit post. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
me too. That word gets me in trouble. Yeah. But like a whimsical, because like the Curtain Call Adventure Path, it's whimsical, like by design. The designers are using that word, not me. So clearly, this book is dipping into the whimsy. Butterfly Bender. Uncommon ritual 3, takes 2 hours to cast it. The cost, you need alcohol worth a total of 20 gold pieces plus the ritual level, 2 secondary casters, blah blah blah. Sometimes the problems in your life are too oppressive. Sometimes you have a case you need to crack and you have no idea where to start. When you've exhausted all options and willpower, you might as well just get drunk and call it a night. The Butterfly Bender is a ritual to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. By twisting fate around a session of hard drinking, you and your small party, no more than 5 people, suspend judgment, memory, and even consciousness, as all of you hurl yourselves into the arm of destiny and politely ask for a favor. You all get blackout drunk.
I love that line, dude. I love that line. You all get blackout drunk.
And if all goes according to plan, you'll wake up with some progress on a quest you've all undertaken, hopefully without too much collateral damage.
It's literally The Hangover, the ritual.
Yeah. The participants of the ritual wake up the next day.
Oh my God, I love this part.
With some of the following determined by the results of the ritual. Any options that aren't chosen are temporarily lost to you.
The first bullet point.
Bullet point 1, your dignity.
You've lost your dignity.
A common item that has a consumable trait of a level no higher than that of the ritual, whatever. Number 3, a new friend or connection. As though you've succeeded at a diplomacy check to make an impression with a relevant NPC up to the ritual's level. If this is one of the things lost, an existing friend refuses to speak to you for 1 day. You know what you did.
I've been there. We've all been there.
I was there a few days ago.
Oh, Eric.
It's been a rough week. When my weeks get ahead of me, I drink. A useful piece of information, as though you succeeded at a diplomacy check to gather information. If lost, you take a -4 status penalty to your next check to recall knowledge. A convenient opportunity of the GM's choice. Don't care. Critical success. Pick 2 options from the above list.
Love it.
The GM gives you a bonus 3rd option of their choice. And then so on and so forth. So Butterfly Bender is a really cool marriage of well-established Pathfinder lore. We have Caden Killian, who was sort of like a joke deity for decades. But he's really not.
Definitely not.
Especially with some of the fiction that's been coming out recently for the War of Immortals. The dude's got some imposter syndrome, possibly. There's some really cool human moments coming out of one of the only human deities in the setting. So when something like this pops up in a book, it helps to reinforce other sort of like cornerstones of the lore. And it's just fucking getting blackout drunk with your friends and then having some fallout.
It's crazy.
Like mechanically in the game. It's a ritual, so you can't accidentally stumble into it. You're casting the damn thing.
Exactly.
It's blackout drunk with intent. And that you can't you can just have that in a game, but like you need to set up for that. Yeah. I mean there's got to be a payoff for that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
And that's
a whole session.
Yeah.
You start the session with the ritual, and then the rest of the session is dealing with the consequences of it.
Yeah. So how often in anybody's game of Pathfinder 2nd Edition does your payoff occur during exploration mode? Mm-hmm. It doesn't. Payoffs tend to occur during downtime mode, which I would say is like 5% of the game. I mean, can you think of any really juicy payoffs people get during exploration mode?
Technically, all moments where you're interacting with a PC and finding out new information, that's exploration mode. It's not downtime mode. So I think our idea of the modes is kind of like exploration and downtime kind of blur into each other.
Yeah.
So I would, and technically speaking, I think majority of what we do is exploration, and downtime is kind of the fast forwarding of time. Then your character does stuff, and
sure. When you get all the numerical benefits,
right,
and you get to reap the rewards of the thing you did,
the story rewards.
Sure, yeah. Unless I'm just bonkers off base here, that happens during encounter mode, because you're rolling all the dice in different ways to get these compound effects and doing all the things.
In your games, there's big reveals that happen after the fight, always, and those are exploration mode.
Yeah, but that's not like hard coded rules for the rule set for Pathfinder 2nd Edition.
Is it?
That's just me throwing it in there.
I'm pretty sure
you can do that in any role playing game.
Well, I'm pretty sure all of those social interactions, they all happen outside of encounter mode. Like, we're not supposed to be talking during combat most of the time. It takes too many actions. Sorry, I know I'm totally throwing off our...
No, you're definitely giving me some food for thought. It's the number of moving parts that result in a numerical value that gives you the payoff. Those kind of combination things historically have kind of been encounter or downtime, mostly encounter. Adding a feat, getting your skill feat, doing your special attack.
Oh, you're almost thinking about it by association.
So, how so?
Like, you're associating numbers and numerical outcomes to results in encounter mode. In encounter mode.
Encounter mode,
and in downtime mode. But not in exploration mode.
In exploration mode, follow the leader. It gives you a mechanical bonus, and it doesn't get more complicated than that. Casting a spell when you're, horsebacking across the Appalachia, you cast detect magic as you're going,
right?
And it doesn't get more involved than that. So, like, all the encounter mode additives and subtractives that I've seen that I can think of, and if there's others, I want to hear it.
What's interesting to me is
rituals are kind of like a counter argument against that.
Yeah.
And this is a ritual, so that's kind of,
exactly. So this happens in exploration mode.
Exploration, unless you're doing a downtime ritual.
Right. I mean, that's kind of the blurry line. Most rituals take between 1 and 8 hours.
Can you think of a non-ritual example where you got to put together some numbers and abilities and poof, encounter mode, it pops off and you get the exciting payoff?
Well, I mean, anytime you were negotiating with an NPC in your games, that's exploration mode.
Okay. So I roll my diplomacy to try to convince them to be nice to me.
Yeah.
Does it get any deeper than that?
What do you mean?
Are there any other bonuses that you can add to that? Are there any things you need to do before you roll that diplomacy dice?
Yeah, you can.
Or is it just a one and done roll?
You can consume a alchemical food before going into that social encounter to increase your odds.
Right. And the alchemical food is a result of the cooking subset of rules, which is also within exploration mode. So that's kind of contributing to my point.
I think we're talking past each other at this point then.
We might be, yeah. So my number one is the cooking and medicine.
Yeah.
Because this feels to me like it's deliberately trying to leverage exploration mode to do more interesting things.
Absolutely, yeah.
And rituals are the most long-lived example of that in second edition, even before remaster.
I wasn't the biggest fan of the medicine stuff.
Sure.
It was just...
It sort of showed up, and whether it passed muster or not is certainly worth discussing.
I just felt like it wasn't impactful enough for people to spend their valuable skill feats and other feats to do it, because they were just so niche most of the time.
Sure.
But anyway.
Yeah.
They're definitely cool in the sense of...
They're there, and if you're a GM like me, I'll just like give you some of this shit for free.
Exactly. Giving it to you for free, I'm all for.
So we talked a little bit about the cooking, and the cooking is sort of like chapter 2 in what it means to cook in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. I feel like chapter 1 is the Kingmaker adventure path, because I don't think there were any cooking rules before that, were there? There might have been a background chef.
I fucking guarantee you Treasure Vaults had something, and that came out before Kingmaker.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Right.
And that was several years into the life cycle.
Absolutely.
So it just feels like there's a lot of foodies on the design staff, and they're like, we need more rules for food.
Absolutely.
Which I'm here for. So doing more interesting things in exploration mode. The medical stuff I like, because historically in D20 games, if you want to give somebody back hit points, you play a healing class, or you do something that has a divinity wrapped up in it. That's kind of what it's been historically. And then in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, this thing called battle medicine kind of reared its head and said, hey, we can approach this a different way. We can have like a scientific approach to quick healing and getting people back on their feet. And you can do that in the kitchen using the cooking rules, and you can do it using these interesting new medical things, like medical class feats are kind of a thing now, where you can be a ranger that has a specific medical type of feat. You can just slip in there. You can be I think there's one for summoner, there's one for ranger, there's one for druid.
Yeah, the summoner was
there's
really
one
interesting.
for just different classes, so they can have just a smidgen of healing, and it's super themed to who they are as a professional, as a class. So the summoner medical feat doesn't feel at all like the druid medical feat. And they're very Eastern themed, because that's where we are, Tian-Xia. So it's another one of those really neat examples where the lore is just wrapped so tightly around the crunch that it can only be in this book unless you seriously reskin the fuck out of it.
What I love about this is that they take Eastern medicine, which is often like a... I don't want to make anyone mad here. I don't want to step on too many toes, but Eastern medicine is largely considered a preventative style of medicine. I think.
Well, they use that language in this book.
Exactly. And I think we can all agree to that, at least in the West. And what's cool is we're in a fantasy setting with fucking magic.
Right.
So like you can use these medicines and they actually do stuff. Like they have overwhelming power. Right. And I love that. And the first time I saw that idea was actually in Dark Archive of all places, because they took all these like color therapy and the gem therapy, and they were like, okay, this is kind of bullshit in real life, but what if they could actually do shit in D&D? And
it's like the healing version of what they did to alternative magic systems and Secrets of Magic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I just really dig that a lot, because again, like healing and medicine and getting rid of conditions is a huge part of the Pathfinder 2nd Edition experience.
At least it's supposed to be.
I don't want to play a cleric in order to engage in that part of the
I
rule
wonder
set.
I wonder how many games actually engage in that kind of thing, because I feel like a lot of players, a lot of tablers are just going to find it annoying that they're just permanently sickened by this disease until they get it off of them.
Sure.
And they'll see it as like a downtime hassle rather than a fun part, an engaging part of the story.
Yeah. Or they only interact with it through scrolls rather than their class.
Exactly. So
that's I really like the cooking and medicine. Again, to draw a big line under it, because it's sort of the what do you call it? Not the warning shot, but it's the gun at the beginning of the race. Design space. Here it is. Medicine and cooking. Strategic options rather than tactical options. Ready, set, go. Designers, jump in. What can you take before your adventuring day that will influence the rest of your adventuring day, where you don't have to rely on like scrolls and wands and staves, you know, all that permanent shit? What if you had to actually make intellectual choices and decisions that impacted the next 12 to 24 hours of your adventuring life? And you have limited information of what's coming down the road, and you have to make those decisions, much like the alchemist has to decide what they're prepping at the beginning of the day. And in the old days, more or less the same for wizards. So yeah, I just, at the end of the day, my top 5 isn't really a top 5 so much as Erik is excited that they're hinting at an emphasis on areas of design that I've been crying about for books.
Right.
And it has to do right now, this day for me, with exploration mode. And I want to see more of that because there's a lot of cool stories that I'm not hearing that should involve exploration mode. Kingmaker is a big one too.
Absolutely.
And I'm just wondering, like, if 3 more of these kinds of books come out, how would Kingmaker look if we had used all this stuff?
Exactly.
To me, my knee jerk is it would feel like a different game. Better, worse, don't care, but different.
Yeah, I don't know.
And that's how you can cater to your table.
And I don't know if our table would be interested in a lot of exploration stuff in the to begin with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think we're more of like a reactionary tactical group. We just sort of like, we show up and then we get told what dice to roll. And then we roll that, and then the numbers kind of happen. That's my take on what 5 levels. What level are we?
Yeah, we're level 5.
Level 5, yeah. As opposed to, I don't know, some tables will spend like 4 hours on constructing a plan to do thing X.
Yeah.
And then it starts, you know.
And
it's
honestly,
like the opposite of Blades of the Dark.
That's what I expected Kingmaker to be. Like my initial thought of what we expected Kingmaker to look like was a lot of planning and then execution.
Yeah.
And it's kind of not turned into that.
It just didn't happen. And clearly we're doing this on a Thursday night where most of us are already most of the way through a work
and like
week.
2 of my players, well 3, but now 2, unfortunately, they're all planners for work.
Yeah.
I mean, like you and Jacques, that's all you guys do is basically plan and tell people what to do for a living and where to go. And I think Tyler does too, right? You know, they're a manager. Yeah. So coming to a table and being like, oh, I have to come up with a plan and manage this too. Maybe not the right fit. Maybe Kingmaker's not the right fit for the table.
I didn't think about that, but yeah.
But that's cool, man. I love that. I guess my number 1 was Tanuki, but now it got bumped. And we're just picking the cool thing, which is Spirit Warrior.
Yeah.
So Johnny Blias on my Discord mentioned this to me, and it jumped out to me pretty significantly. Once I started really looking into it, they said, hey, this is really cool. We should check it out. I looked at it and I was immediately taken aback by like how freaking rad this archetype is. So what it is effectively is a magical dual weapon warrior. It's an archetype that makes you use a weapon, an agile weapon in one hand and a fist in the other hand. And you could do like a strike and then a punch. Like the first dedication feat is a strike and a punch. One with the weapon, one with your fist. It gets rid of all the nonsense of like, you know, the runes on your left hand get to be freely applied to your right hand weapon and all that jazz. But then it has why did you change the page?
Oh, I didn't know I changed it. I thought I just changed it to something.
Oh, yeah. I'm holding the page. You're good.
Like there's a big emphasis on like the spirit world and how magic works in Tian-Xia.
Yes.
And this archetype you're talking about feeds directly into the lore at the beginning of the book that takes up a whole chapter.
Exactly. So Spirit Warrior dedication allows you to do that punch and slash with the one-handed weapon and stuff like that. This is clearly amazing in a swashbuckler again, but also
this
good in other
whole book
stuff.
is designed just to get me to lay off on the swashbuckler.
Just for swashbuckler, yeah. But no, honestly, it's good in any martial. This is a class that can really work with almost any martial in the game because almost every martial has an option for a free-handed fighter.
Sure.
Right? And that's what this is. Yeah. But I just love the abilities are strong. They're really fun and appropriate to the Tian-Xia setting. The Kaiju Defense Oath, kind of like a paladin. There are the level 4 feats.
I like that one a lot.
Champion, not paladin.
Yeah.
Champion. The Kaiju Defense Oath is an oath at 4th level. It comes with an edict that goes with it. Sacred Wild's Oath, and then Trickster Bane Oath, where you're anti-tricksters, I guess, which is pretty cool. And some other feats that are pretty rad: Cutting Heaven, Crushing Earth, Flowing Palm Deflection. All of these things are really just interesting. Flowing Palm Deflection allows you the palm attacks that you get, the unarmed strike attacks, gain the parry trait. This allows you to upgrade that parry trait to +2, which is really cool because now you can parry with your hand. And then there's another feat that's in here, level 10, that's very powerful. And I just wanted to point it out for my Munchkin goblins at home. The Transcendent Deflection
Reaction.
It's level 10. Once per 10 minutes, an enemy within your reach would damage you or an ally with an attack. You're wielding a one-handed, agile, or finesse melee weapon. I'm warning you now, there are ways to cheese this. Just throwing that out there. You charge your weapon with spiritual energy and intercept the attack. The weapon becomes broken and the target is unarmed by the attack. Unharmed. If you're carrying another one-handed agile or finesse melee weapon, you can immediately swap it for the broken weapon. That's the whole feat. There's no check, Eric. You spend your reaction, you negate the harm of the attack, and your weapon is broken. So if you could somehow come up with a way to quickly have, like at the end of your turn, switch to a useless dagger that you hold in your hand, deflect, the dagger breaks, who cares? It's one gold piece or one silver piece. And then that automatically lets you pull your real weapon. On your next turn, you fight with your real weapon, and then you swap or switch or whatever the new basic action is called, back to another boring dagger in your hand. You use reaction and negate another attack. It's once per 10 minutes, so you can actually only do it once in a fight.
Sure.
But it's just the fact that there's no check is just so strong. And it's level 10, so it's kind of like a halfway capstone. You'll find there's a lot of powerful feats that peak at level 10.
Yeah, and this only goes up to 12 for their options.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so Spirit Warrior, check it out if you're a munchkin like me at home. It's just really, really good. And it's not even overly powerful in a lot of ways. I want to say Transcendent Deflection is the only one that's truly overly powerful. But it's really well designed. There's a good option for every level. There's like 4 level 4 feats, 4 level 6 feats, 2 level 8 feats, 1 level 10 feat that everyone takes, and then 2 level 12 feats. So you really can build it out and make it feel like what you want. And I really like that. And it's just great for martial classes. And it has all of that. It has a lot of spirit damage. It's a spirit warrior. Obviously, it allows you to attack undead and corporeal creatures really well and stuff like that. And it leans really heavily into what Eric talked about, the spirit magic at the beginning of the book that I totally just slipped out from the page you were saying.
Okay.
But that's okay.
Yeah, I kind of like the hourglass design they did with that one, where there's like options at the bottom, and then everyone who has this archetype has the same 10th level, and then there's options going out for the higher levels. So when you're playing a game and you have 10 spirit wardens who all show up in the same room and Avengers assemble, that there's one ability every single one of us can do. And that's a really cool thing to kind of like unify around.
Absolutely.
So yeah, magic in the spirit world, apparently in Tian-Xia, there's certain approaches to magic and how it works, and just how the populace
loved this
it.
part of the book, and I can't wait to read the Tian-Xia World Guide, because what I like about it is it's different from my problem with the gods. My problem with the gods is there's a bunch of there's too many gods, and it kind of cheapens the existence of any one god.
Sure.
The fact that there are different ways to access the same magic is fascinating to me. It really shows that there's, more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the approaches we have to magic in Avestan are correct, quote unquote, but they're also really culturally informed. And you can get to the same destination with a completely different perspective, cultural perspective on the same destination, if you will, which is, using magic. Love that. I really love that kind of bend on things. It's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's when we talk about reskinning things to make it closer to what you're trying to do, make it your own. It's in that spirit as well.
See what he did there?
I didn't intend that. It's so hot in here right now. I'm not intending my puns
This
as I come
is
out.
like the last 90-degree day of the year.
I know, it's going to
Portland.
rain tomorrow.
Thank fucking Christ.
Yeah.
So you got anything else you want to talk about, Eric?
I think that's pretty much it. This fucking book is tiny. Of all the Lost Omens books, I think it's the smallest one that they've offered so far.
I haven't bought it. I was flabbergasted at
you did
how
the PDF,
thin
right?
it was. I just have the PDF, yeah. I was really shocked at how thin it was because when you're reading a PDF, you don't realize how tiny something is.
Right.
But this is truly thin, yeah.
And
it's
yet
$50.
there's enough delicious kind of thematic options where you can create celestial dragon influenced belly bopping tanukis. You can do the Sailor Moon chef of a region of the map where, the ghosts are a thing. There's like a number of things you can combine in here to create more ideas than should realistically fit inside a book of this size. And on top of that, the artwork is second to none. That's another one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah, that's a good piece. What I really find is interesting that I just realized, the cover art has a bird person.
Tengu, yep.
And yet they didn't offer any Tian-Xia Tengu stuff.
I'm going to
confess
weird. Something. I didn't read my Lost Omens Tian-Xia World Guide. Was there any Tengu stuff in there?
So I haven't read it either, but I don't own it. But I remember Nick telling me that there wasn't any player options.
Okay.
So I'm going to guess no.
Well, I guess Tengu got enough love in preceding books that I'm glad that all these other guys got for this tiny-ass book right here.
Tengu were a huge part of the lore.
Yeah.
So
like all the Tengu pirates from the Shackles.
Right.
They came from here.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, that's just interesting to me. I and they're on the cover, so I'm kind of surprised they're not in the book.
Where are they?
Yeah, that's odd. But I really loved this book. It has so much character.
I was surprised how much I liked it. I thought it was going to be a total snooze fest for me, just because I don't have the palate for it.
Exactly. And you know what I just started watching that you might want to check out too?
What's that?
It's a show on not Netflix, the green one. What's the green one? Hulu. Mm-hmm. I know the streaming services by their color. Like a child. And my partner really started falling in love with this, called Shogun.
And, I read the first book.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
The War and Peace sized.
Got it. It takes place during Edo, Japan? Okay, yeah. Or pre-Edo, I guess, technically.
Yeah.
It's the precursor to the Edo era of Japan, from what I understand. Okay, cool.
Yeah, there's a whole giant fucking series of those.
I had no idea.
They came out, I forget when they came out, 60s, 70s.
Oh, shit.
They're really fucking old.
Okay,
and,
wow. Okay.
What's old is new again.
Right, yeah, I didn't know that. But anyway, we're watching the TV show, and it's fucking great.
It's good? Oh, I'm glad.
So good.
Sometimes when they bring stuff like that back and then kind of redo it, it's kind of like when people listen to the radio and go, oh, I didn't know that was a cover. I thought she wrote that.
Yeah, totally.
First of all, no. Second of all, have you heard the Beatles? Because they actually fucking wrote it.
Yeah. But anyway, Shogun on my
I will be watching that. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
sure.
It's really good.
Yeah, good. I hope it keeps going.
We're only 2 episodes in, and we love it so far.
Cool.
And that will get you stoked for some Tian-Xia influence because, dude,
I got to get the taste of Tom Cruise out of my mouth from Hero.
Edo period Japan is kind of like what a lot of us imagine the cool samurais being, from what I understand, like the shogunate and stuff like that. The shogunate comes back with a vengeance during Edo period Japan. And
are there Tanuki in it?
No Tanuki yet.
How do you know?
I don't. I'm only episode 2, so there could be. Who knows?
Might get to the very end of it.
12 more.
Whole thing's done, and you still won't know, but they're in there.
They're in there. Exactly.
Yeah.
On that note, goblins. On that little Tanuki note, keep it weird.
I really wish you could do an animation where we turn into Super Mario Tanuki statues.
Oh, that'd be
just
amazing. Like right here. Absolutely. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for hanging out with us, goblins. Keep it weird. We're gonna
come play with us at convention this year, early October.
And if not, later on, we'll do another convention soon. I promise. Why are we kissing our fingers? That's gross.
Yeah.